So I'm gonna kind of show everybody data forms. Let me see, Suzanne's coming in here, so we'll just wait for her 2 seconds. There's Suzanne. Okay, so let me just poll the room here real quick. Does anybody have an actual like data form that they want to do now, like email out or get content off the web? Like, does anybody have a specific thing that they're working on, just out of curiosity? No? Okay. Feel free to chime in if you need to. So I'm just gonna launch in here. Lauren, do you want to guide me in any way? Like, do you want to?
Yeah,
How am I
so
doing so far?
Paul would like all the questions in the chat to ask at the end, right? Is that how we wanted to do it?
I don't know. It's
You don't know?
however you want to do it. I was thinking people would just say things at the end and not chat it, but they can chat it if they want.
Okay. You're not going to be checking the chat throughout, correct? That's what we mostly needed to say.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. All right, so let me launch in here on a module called data forms. I'll go for about, I don't quite know how long, half an hour maybe, and then we'll turn it over to questions. So I created this morning as both a script for myself, and it's also a help article. So it's going to be in help.brickriver.com. And you can refer back to this if you want step-by-step instructions. It's essentially under the database management part, and it's called creating data forms. And there are basically 3 primary use cases for a data form. The first one is if you want somebody to submit content through your website. So here we are on holston.org, Holston's website, and they have people come to their website and submit content, submit a news article, submit an event, a blog post, a job posting, a recipe, a resource, a video, right? And what they want is they want that to go directly in their database so they don't have to copy it out of, like, say, a registration form and then put it all into another record. Like, oh, let me get an event submission and then copy everything out and put it in. If you use a data form, it'll go right into the database in an unapproved format, and then you can make edits to it, and then you can just press a button to make it live. So it's, it makes your job very easy. The second use case is if you want to have massive data updating of records, contact records. So a lot of times what people want to do is they want to email blast their churches or their clergy, and they want to have them update light basic information, basic contact information. So they might want to send an email blast out to all their clergy and say, can you upload your photo? Oh, and while you're here, check your name, which you can't change, and then change your mobile phone, something like that. Or something similar with the church. Hey, can you upload your church photo and, maybe proof something? And when you make a data form, you can choose what fields are viewable and editable, which ones are just viewable and not editable. So that's the second primary case. And we're going to really cover those 2 things here in this phone call or whatever, the Zoom. And then the third is if you're making a custom portal. I don't think anybody on this is going to do that, but they're used in custom portals if you wanted to, like the People portal uses them to allow people to update their contact information. I was talking to a woman that is trying to sell the appointment tool to her cabinet, and she wants to enhance the existing, she wants to add another data form in her People portal to allow the cabinet, or to allow people to put their sort of competencies. Oh, I'm good at sermons. I'm good in small churches. I'm good at this or that. So that would be the third use case. So before I continue on, does anybody have any comments or questions?
I just did an example of the third for Minnesota for churches to be able to fill out their church profiles.
You're saying you did, or
yes?
What's that? Oh, cool! That's awesome. You are. I'm impressed. I want to see it. Okay, here we go. Back to screen sharing, and let's kind of go through. I'm going to kind of cover lightly these things, and then you can refer back to if you want to create it. The first would be getting content off your website. That example of events, news article, photos, community stories. So the way we have to start this out is I'm gonna use my own Brick River system that I use for my own company. And we go under admin and we create what's called a view. So get ready to cross your eyes. Your eyes are going to cross here with some techie mumbo jumbo, but you can refer back to this and it will lovingly guide you through this process. But essentially what you do is you go in, let's say I want somebody to be able to submit an event through my website. I go and find what's called a view, which is kind of like a table. And I click on events. And what I do is I make a new one. I would make a new event. Now, because I prepped for this meeting, I already made one. And I'm gonna go into it. And this is where it gets a little wacky, it's a little overwhelming. You go in, you make a view, and then again, I guide you through this process here about all of the little techie weeny things that you do. But essentially these are kind of like HTML tags. You basically put in a purpose. You say that the purpose of this view is to submit an event. And then I have you bail out of this highly technical view. And then I have you go into this permission screen. And this permission screen is easier on the eyes for hiding fields. So you're going to go in, you're going to do things like hide the recurrence field, hide visibility fields. You only want to, have the things visible that you want people to fill out. Hide, related reg forms and registration links and friendlies. You might want to get the contact information of this person submitting this event. And then a lot of this other stuff, you just want to hide it. You want to make it invisible. And I want to kind of urge you to use hidden over no access. No access has some, I think disastrous is probably too strong of a word. It has some unpleasant things that will happen where the system will be expecting a field to be there and it just is like totally gone when you click on this thing. So essentially what happens is you do the view, you come here, you hide your fields. And one thing I neglected to say was when you're accepting information from your website, everybody that comes to your website is coming as a single user called a guest user. So when you make this view, you link it so that only the guest user is seeing it. Once you've done that, you've essentially made the table structure. You've made the view that the data form is going to use. Okay, and then there's some crazy techie wackadoodlery here in which, and I don't want to get too technical, you have to return to this screen and I give you a little patch of code to copy in. And what you do is you need to have the needs approval field be able to be set to needing approval in an invisible way. And the way you do that is you have to make it, you copy in this little patch of code, read only on add equals false. Again, you will not have to think about this much if you come to this document and just literally follow it step by step. So you've done this technical stuff, you take a little nap, get your energy up, and then you come into data forms and you make a data form. Now I call this data form submit an event. And a data form is kind of like the wrapper around the view you made. So I call it submitted event, and that's what everybody's going to see. They're going to see submitted event as the title. And then what I do is I go find that view that I created and I start typing in those words I use, like submitting an event, and then it will come up and I select it. I pick a branded template. Now a branded template, they're under here and they're kind of associated with registration forms and some other areas of the website. And we have a related document on making a branded template, but essentially it's just a thing with a logo at the top. So you could have a dozen different branded templates. You know, some people have them for the annual conference event. Some of them have a generic one for the conference. Some have different ones for each district. So you basically pick a branded template. If you want to get notified that somebody has submitted content to you from the website, pop in a little email there. We only have one email. We don't have like info and Susie and Mike, all, you know, you can't do that kind of a thing. And then I give you a little bit of you know, starter code here to drop into this confirmation text, because this it needs to be HTML. So I just say something like, thank you for submitting an event. Someone from our staff will review it and communicate if we have questions. Then you go down to the bottom here and you want to add a CAPTCHA. So that will protect against spam bots or you know, bots trying to inject into your form. And then you run it as the guest user. And then what you do is you just preview this form. So this is what your people will see when they come to your website and click the button. They'll see this form, and this looks pretty good to me. This approximates what you would do, letting them put in a title, maybe a start and an end, light description stuff, and some contact information, and maybe an image. And then this is what's known as the CAPTCHA. So you do that, and then we come to the last part. Again, a little techie. This is techie stuff. We come to this part called placing the data form on a web page. And again, I give you a little code snippet that's going to make your life pretty easy. Essentially, you're going to copy this code snippet and you're going to remember whatever the heck the ID is of the data form that you just made, and you're going to replace it. So I went to my website site, and I went to the current Brick River website, and I just made some page called Submit an Event. I just made a new page. You know, I don't have to tell you how to do that, but I just made a new page. So if I hit edit, then what I did was I flipped to the source, and I copied that code snippet here. I just copied this in and I pasted it in here. And then because I remembered that it was my email data form, or my data form was 754, I just popped that in here. And this is essentially under the covers saying, setting it to be needing approval equal to true. So now if I, oh, and then I added some light little like styling. I talk about that in the document. But then if I go to the page, this is just a test thing. I can hit submit an event, and you get this crazy URL here, and I'll say, you know, Paul testing on the Zoom, and I'll just say today the 8th, and then whatever. I'm not a robot. Let's see if it thinks I'm a robot. And then I'll save it. And then we come to that information. Thank you for submitting an event. You could link them to your website. You could just say, close this. But essentially what they'll do is they'll just, you know, they can close this out. And now if I go to Brick River content events, I will see Paul testing on the Zoom. And I would have gotten an email to info@Brick River. And when you get that email, it's not going to give you a link to it. So what you need to do is, if you want to go find things that need approval, on the left side here, you just check needs approval. And it's going to say, oh, here's all the stuff that kind of came in that needs approval. So I can go look at this. It's invisible. It needs approval. Yes. You know, maybe I want to wordsmith it a little bit for them. Maybe I want to put in an image. Maybe I want to associate it with a different calendar or whatever it has to do. Maybe they submitted a story to you or a news article, and then you want to tag it in a certain way. You go ahead and do that. And then you just say needs approval. Nope, invisible, and you hit save, and then that's live on your website. So that concludes use case number 1. Let me pause for questions or comments. Kristen, go for it.
Hi,
Hey.
I am wondering, can you set, or does it have to be done in code to set some of those things as required fields?
That is a unbelievable question. Gold star for today. That's a fantastic question. In fact,
I do what I can, Paul. I do what I can.
I'm going to update the document I created this morning to talk about that. What you would do, and you won't remember this necessarily, but You'll go into this eye crossing techie land of that view that we created. And if you have any sort of familiarity with HTML, these tags, these are basically like HTML tags, and they have these little attributes on them. What I would do is I would just put my cursor here and press the space bar, and it gives me a little IntelliSense, and then I can do what you said, which is required. I would make it say required equals true, and then I would just press save. And now it would not allow me to submit an event unless it's required. So it's saying start is required. Does that make sense?
So when you do that in one spot, is that going to do it for all of those fields?
It will do it on a field by field basis. So you
Okay. Oh, I'm
choose
sorry.
what
You just
field.
put it in the recurrence. So it would go at the end of each field in here that you wanted to use.
Like you might say, I want start date, want
Yeah.
Title to be required as well. And so now you both fields.
Okay, perfect.
No, that was a fantastic question because I was thinking about it as
Yeah, because I just know like on the registration forms, we can set like a require, and there's like a little asterisk that shows up so that people know, but that's good to know that we can build that in the form.
yeah. And I really encourage everybody to go back, like even myself, like I made this script for myself to remember all the steps. But I think once you go through step by step, it'll be easy and it won't require so much thought.
I mean, because with the submit news event that we added to our site has been tremendously helpful in getting people to not email me. But I would say that they're not filling out all of the fields I want them to, so then I end up chasing them down and getting them to submit anyway. So it'd be good to go back in and know how to, and now I know how to go back in and edit that to make it.
That's great. And I will lickety split update that article when our meeting is over, just so that you have code there.
Can I make a
Okay.
related comment
Yes,
to
please.
Kristen's question? And you, Paul, correct me if I'm wrong. So one area we have struggled related to required fields and data forms is that you have like the base view, right? And then this is like another version of the view that kind of overlays on top of it and connects to the data form. So we sometimes in our base view, there has been required fields.
Oh,
And
right.
then maybe it's not, there's been a conflict in the data form, right? Where one was required and the other, it was required at the base, but not on the data form. We were getting errors and stuff like that. So I would say I feel like it was a unique case. Like, why would you necessarily have a required field in your base view? I can't think of the specific use case for us, but it was something we ran into, and it took me a lot of digging to figure out that was the problem.
That's a great point too. I'll also update the document because I say in the document, preview the form, but I can basically say, preview the form, fill it out, press save. And if you see a required field that's not, whatever articulated, then go look in a base, and I'll get all crazy techie there, but. Okay. All right. So that's use case one. The communicators, they get a lot of benefit, as Kristen said, out of these data forms that get content submitted to them. The next use case is for the database managers. So we were just dealing with a client recently that, like I said, I think they wanted all of their clergy to update new photos. Now there's a couple ways they can do that. They can have their clergy, I don't even know, mail them. I don't know how, send them some photos via email, and then a human can go and upload the photo for every single person. Or, and again, the primary use cases are people and churches. But, you send an email blast out to everybody and say, hey, can you update your form? Can you update your record in my website or in my database? So let me show you that. It's largely the same. But that's down in this section about making an emailable data form that allows people to update their contact record in your database. So we, of course, start in the same place as the other place. We start in views. We go to views, but this time we're not going to go to a content view. We're going to go to a contact view. So I'm going to go to people, and I'm going to do that weird kind of, I click new to start off with. I just click new to start off with, and then I put in the purpose like I showed you. And I give it a purpose. I say the purpose is emailing people a data form. Then I get the heck out of here and I go into the better screen called permissions, and I start hiding fields. So oftentimes customers want their people only to see their names, not change their names, right? Because I think that there's a lot of issues where people will just change their names. I don't quite know why, but so I made those read only. I made managing the subscriptions and email and alt email just invisible. I want their phone one, which is their office phone. I hid other phone, other fields and other field sets. I'll take their mailing address information, and I don't need any of this other stuff from them. Okay, so once I've done that, I'm all good. And then again, this view, I neglected to tell you one other thing. When you make an emailable data form, I want you to make a user. I want you to make a user that's called email data form user. Because just like the website is always a single user called the guest, I want everybody that's coming and updating a record from an email in your database to be a known user, email data form user. And all I want you to do is just give them a name like email data form, keep them inactive. You can either put in no password and username, or you can put in just some like crazy, stuff. It doesn't matter. And they don't need to be an administrator. They can, this is all you need to do. So you've done that, you've done the view, and then again, you link that view either in the sort of techie screen here by saying users, only the email data form user, or you can also do it on the slightly easier screen of permissions where you say email data form user. Now we do the same thing. We add the wrapper. We go to data forms, and you make a new data form, and I created one called update your contact info in our database. That's the title. I searched on the purpose, again, emailing people a data form. I associated it with a branded template. I do not want email notifications. I don't want 700 emails, because people, 700 people are updating their record in my database. And then I just put like a light message on there. Thank you for updating your record. That's it. Close this window or go to our website, right? Just something like that. Do not check the CAPTCHA because you already know who these people are. We don't want to give them an extra barrier. We know who they are. But definitely check emailable and definitely link it to run as the email data form user. And once that's done, let's proof this puppy. There we go. So I would see the name and just light contact information. Okay, so once we've done that, there's a little bit of trickery, a little bit of duplicativeness with regards to testing these data forms. What I want you to do is I want you to have your text kind of ready and set aside, because the only way to test is to send. So there's no like test the data form button. You have to send it. So what you want to do is you want to start off with yourself and send it to yourself. And then you keep repeating over and over again. So I'll show you what I mean, but again, you can refer back to this. So what I mean by that is, and this is something also that's very important. People are updating a record in your database for a specific view. You cannot email subscription lists. You cannot email a different view. You can't say, I have an update form for people, but then go ahead and email your churches because it will have no clue. I have no clue. I'm a church. I'm not a person. I don't know what to do. So you can't do this. You can't go here and say, subscribers, I want to have all the Brick River News people get it. Because those people could be of every type. They're a volunteer, they're a miscellaneous recipient, there's somebody that added, there are people, you know, a registrant. So you cannot do it that way. So I'll just delete this. So what you do is you go through the view that, you know, that you're looking to have people update. So I'm going to go to contacts, people, and I'm going to start by testing. I'm not going to email my whole database, but what you would do is you would probably say something like update, you know, all clergy or all people that are currently appointed or all people that are in leadership assignment or whatever it is you want. I'm going to start off and say paul@brickriver.com because I want to test me, and that's what you should do. Test you first. And then once we find the person, click on email. Make a new email. And then this is where it gets a little repetitious and where I want you to have your text set aside so that you can paste it in. Because the email screen needs to be told every time that it's sending an email data form. So I'm going to pick a little narrow notifier here, and I'm going to say something like, will you update your record in our DB? And, you know, put in the information here, and then you put in stuff, we would love it if you would. Love it if you would. Now, and you might have other little instructions there and stuff, and that's why I want you to just be able to copy and paste it for each time. This black icon here says insert data form link. So I'm going to do that. And then because you checked it as being emailable, you say, it's there for you. Update your contact info in our database. And you just say, you know, simply click this link and you'll, you know, be updating, whatever, doesn't matter. And that's it. Now, our system, you know, you not only put in this link here, but our system will also put one down at the bottom here. And if this is looking good, there's no test, like a test won't work. You've got to send it out. So I sent one out, and this is what I got. Hey there, will you update your contact record in our database? Click here to update your record. So when I click on that, I come to my record. What happened? Okay, I don't care. So I'm on the data form. Here it is. Again, I can change my photo. I can't change my name. I can put in different business phone. I'm going to change this from 800-924 to let's do 603-395-4623. And I'll press save. And there we go. Thank you for updating your record in our database. That's it. Close this window or head to our website. Now, this is going to happen dozens, maybe hundreds of times, depending upon how many of these you send out. Now, again, let me just, you know, reinforce or recap or whatever. That was a test. In order to test, you have to perform those same actions again and again and again. So what you might do is you might go to contacts, people, again, you might do that same set of things and come down to pressing the test button, right? You know, so you're going to search on this person again. Maybe I want to have, you know, Lauren be in there too. So maybe I would do this. Maybe I would do a test like this. I'll say email. We'll just say create a new email test, and then I'll save it. And then maybe I want another tester person. So I'll go back to contacts, people. Let's see if Lauren is in here. I don't know what her email is off the top of my head. We'll do lmears@mou. Okay, so then I'll just press email. And this is how you'll probably do it. You'll sort of widen the testing net. So now I have 2 testing people, And then again, I'm going to perform those same actions. Now, if I had set aside my text, I can just pop it in here. And then I have to tell it every time. This is what you have to do every time. Click the link. Because if you don't do that, this email screen doesn't really know that it's sending an email data form. Okay. And then once you're ready to go, you send it to everybody. You find that big list, you do this, and you press send, and you're all good. But how do you see what changes are being made? Well, so this, you may care, you may not care, but what you would do is you would go into contacts, people, and I noticed a little bug this morning, actually, I have to say. And what I'll do is I'll find under filter fields, I'll go to the bottom and I'll find everything that was last updated by our friend, the email data form user. So this is one bug I found where it doesn't filter it properly. And then what I can do is, I can't see the changes immediately here, but I can see the change made. What I can also do is go to the result fields and I can scroll down and I can say last updated. And so maybe what I want to do is I want to see this sorted descending. Maybe you have 100 changes. You can sort it by last updated. Oh, this is erroring. Interesting. So I'll take a peek at that. But lastly, under more actions, you could, if you actually cared, go to activity. We don't want to see any email activity, and we want to customize the changes only to see edits that have come from data forms. And then you could actually, if you cared, if you were this detailed of a person, you could go to show details and see, oh, okay, Paul changed it from 800 to 603. If you really cared, that's high level caring. And that is it. Again, I encourage you to go to help.brickriver.com. You're going to want to go to the section called database management. And it's at the bottom, it's called creating data forms. And then I've related 2 other things there that show you how to do branded templates. Okay, so that concludes this little training session, and Connie, go for it.
Actually, I have like 3 questions.
Go for it.
Okay. Well, the first was when you're back on your list and you're selecting your contacts to email out,
Yeah.
could you implement a way that we can do check marks? I want that person, this person, this person to either include them or disclude them.
Lisa's laughing. She's been a customer for a long time. This is a very new suggestion. It's probably only 5 years old.
Mhm.
We've been begging for that for years.
Yeah, I was gonna
You
say,
actually-
I'm sure this is not the first time you've heard this. Yes.
Months ago, I actually put it on, we got the advisory panel
Hmm.
on the list, and it's kind of working its way through. It's not theoretical anymore. I think, it may have.
It may
Mhm.
actually happen. Okay, well, the second question is, you've worked with us on doing the voter ID data forms.
Oh, great.
So,
Good point. Yeah.
I've been emailing those out, especially during our last special session just last Sunday. And doing those steps. But one thing I found that kind of tripped me up a little bit was when I would copy the content of my email I wanted to send out and paste it in, all of my other links carried over, but the data form I always had to relink. And of course, I didn't remember that at first.
Right.
And that messed me up. And I had to go back and resend emails out because that data link looked like it was there, looked like it was linkable, but
She didn't just have technical difficulties. That's a fake. I cut her off, but it made it look like a technical. No. Is anybody there? Is that me? Oh, that's me that locked out. Huh. Is everybody there? Anybody there? No.
Form out. And then I would
Where is
copy
he?
it before I forget.
Where is he?
And then they would be confused and yes. So.
Then kick the
Oh, yeah.
Wi-Fi. Then kick the Wi-Fi. No, Connie,
I thought
sorry
I
about
just scared you too much with that request, Paul, so that's what.
that. You finish what you were saying, like that you constantly had. Basically, are you saying to me that you had to do the thing that I was saying over and over again, that you have to constantly relink it? I think that that's
Yeah.
incredibly, you need, there's a lot of steps to this, and certainly this should be easier, but you definitely have to remember to do that over and over again.
Well, that's what I was saying in the content of the email that I had that I was sending out to a group of people. You know, the forms I had attached, the web pages I had attached, all of that, all those links held when I would
Right.
copy it back.
Right.
The data form link looked like it was there. It still was, you know,
Well-
blue and pretty and all that kind of thing. But it was not, and it lost that link when I would copy that data back over to a new email and then
And that's
send it out.
literally what I'm beating the drum saying. You have to remember to do that every time.
And I'm saying, can you fix that so you don't have to
I-
remember?
I hear you. There's a lot of fixing of this that could happen. While we're on this topic, can I just
Yeah.
make another like suggestion, which everybody might know? Don't copy from an email that you received. Like if you send an email to yourself and you're like, oh, that's great. Don't copy that text and then paste it into the emailer, because the emailer has rewritten all of the links. So if I send an email blast and I say, go to www.brickriver.com, and I have like 10 different links, the way email tracking works is every link gets rewritten to a tracking URL. And so we send you to the tracking URL first, we log that you clicked it, and then we redirect you. If you copy that, you're copying in those rewritten URLs, and it's going to redirect, log it, and then redirect again, log it, and then go to the place. So when you copy, like keep it in a separate compose screen, like maybe just have like another draft that's your text for the email data form. Does that make sense?
Well, what I've usually done is same email, different recipients is how I've usually brought it back in. Is that doing the same thing you're saying though? You're redirecting people?
Well, I mean, basically what I'm saying is, let's see if this will even come back here. Hang on a sec.
Still not good. Yeah.
Okay, I'm using my phone. Please don't double. Okay, good. All right, so updates, where is it? I don't know where it is. Okay, so don't copy from here. Don't ever copy from an email and paste it into the content of an email, because this link, you see how it's got that crazy URL. I mean, they've been rewritten. So like you should have probably, I would say the best bet is to have some kind of draft that's called like my data form text, and then you've got it here that you can paste it from, if that makes sense.
And what
then
if
when
you've already sent one out and you use it as same email, new recipient? That's still
I mean,
okay, or is that still rerouting too much?
No, you're right. You're right. That'll do it. That'll do it for sure. That'll do it. But then you just have to remember to do that, what you said. So like I sent out a system email or an all email today, email data form test. Yeah, here was my test. You're right, Connie. Yeah, you could do it that way. You could say new, same email to new recipients. You could do it like that, but you do have to remember to link this thing again.
Yes, I found that out.
Right. Okay, so that's the second
Yeah.
question. What's your third question?
The third one was on these data forms for the people, the context part. Are those, when the answers come back in, do those need to be approved before they go through and change the record? It's automatic.
Boom, right in.
Okay. I think that's always been our hesitancy of using it that way, because we don't want the record to necessarily be updated without approval. Since people don't always know how to spell their name, or they don't always type their phone number incorrectly, or, whatever.
Yeah,
So,
I hear you.
okay. Those are my questions.
They're excellent. Other questions?
I have a
Comment?
thought related to your needs approval quandary, but that's I can hold it if other people have questions.
Well, I didn't want to go there, like, there is a way, but I don't want to talk about it.
It does get complicated. But I do think it's worth talking about, going back to your content example. So what happens if you get scared, you're not comfortable with the XML in the view, and you don't put in that little needs approval
Go
into the
live.
view. Right.
Go
So
live.
any news article or event you would submit, it would just shows up.
Exactly.
Had another
Actually,
question, I
you
thought.
know what? I'm not sure that's true, because by default, they're invisible. So the content would be invisible. It just, you wouldn't know if it needs approval, but I don't think that that's the case for every content record. So I think maybe like we were looking at events in Brick River, my Brick River, but I'm not entirely sure that that's the case for everything off the top of my head, whether it's news and story, you know what I'm saying? And I bet Kristen just came on because she's about to tell me that it was going.
No,
on.
it was interesting because
Okay.
I had our classifieds. When I first started, it was set to, needed permission to post. And because you've seen how little I know about everything, I never changed it. And then all of a sudden, classified ads were submitting on our site that were coming, other conferences were putting, we try to keep our classified section just for our jobs. And then people were submitting like a complaint about a church on through that. And it was showing up in our classified section on our website. So, which was weird because I never went in and changed that code at all, but that happened at some point anyway. And I've got it fixed now, but.
I think it has to do with a product change that we made a while ago, in which we changed the behavior of fields based upon field sets they were in. Like it behaved a certain way when a field set was invisible. And so that change may have caused
Right.
that change that you're saying, Kristen.
Yeah, I figured out it was your fault, not mine, but.
Oh, it certainly was. It almost always is.
But then we made that change. And then there's some things that I'm like, I don't care if you post this on my website, go ahead, and so it's interesting. We'll get to all of that when we do reworking of things.
Sounds good.
Do you want to talk about how a reg form is different than a data form?
Well, yeah, I mean, I can highlight that, which is essentially basically what Lauren said. They as much as we would love the reg system to have awareness of the contact that was coming into it, the reg forms are just totally separate animals. They're totally separate. They have no idea about the database. It doesn't know if it's a news article. It doesn't know anything about it. And so there have been tens of thousands of reg forms created by non-technical users. There have been tens of data forms created by non-technical users. So, it's a little different, but one is a lot easier and it's getting a lot of traction, and the other one is very powerful, but it's a high degree of difficulty. So
Will you show like how links are different on the front end of a website So like how a submit an event link differs from like an event reg link. Right? Because I can't just
Oh, that's a
copy
great thought. That's a
the
great
data
thought. Thank
form
you
link.
so much.
Yeah.
That's a great thing. So there's a little bit of like a, not a cautionary tale, but a lot of smart people, what they do is they might make a page called submit an event. And they say, wow, look at this. Here's the permanent forever URL that will allow people to submit an event. And they're smart. But unfortunately, that's not the case, because about every 90 days or every, I don't know what it is off the top of my head, 120 days, these links expire. So what people sometimes do on their websites is they go, oh man, I'm smart as heck. I'm going to go to Control-C here. And I'm going to go to site. And instead of submit event, making them have to do that extra click, I'm just going to go to edit. And I'm going to go to properties and I'm going to pop that in. And it will work for 90 days. But it won't, it'll stop working after that. So I think that that's maybe one element of what you were wanting me to point out, Lauren. The other is just, this is a whole bunch of technical mumbo jumbo secure URL, whereas a reg form has a little bit more friendliness to it. So I forget what this thing is about. Data forms crossing. This is the URL that was for registering for this event. You see how it's more human friendly. So Lauren, does that cover what you were looking to highlight?
Yes, and in addition to your first, example that you showed, so like if you we have people who go to the submit an event button and hit right click, copy link, which is the same function. And then they try to link that in different places, or say, oh, we'll go here and submit an event, and they send them the secure link instead of the link to the actual web page. So they should be sending them to, brickriver.com/submit-and-event instead of copying the link off the button on the page.
100%. And because it will work, and again, I don't know off the top of my head whether it's 90 days or 180 days, will work for that period of time, and then it stops working. So. I think I'm going to end it. I think we had 10 minutes. We went 50 minutes here. I think that was about all. Do you have something, Laura?
No, other to say, thank you so much for doing this. Sadly, I was in and out, but you recorded it, so that was fabulous. This just is really incredibly helpful stuff, and I appreciate it very much.
Oh, okay, well, I'll do anything. For
Laura,
you.
kissing up.
Just compliment me, and I'll do anything. I'm gonna go take a nap now. Thanks. Appreciate it. Yeah. Did somebody almost say something? No. Oh, Linda's here too.
Oh, just thank you. Yep.
You're welcome. Oh, I know what I was gonna say. Whose forest is better? Is it Laura's or Connie's? I don't know. Kentucky
One
forest
is more like
or
a
Oregon?
dream forest.
Mine is actually the ground at Animal Kingdom at Disney, around the Avatar ride at night.
Oh man, nice.
So
Nice.
I thought it was pretty cool, so I had to take a picture.
That's great. All right, well, everybody, thank you so much, and have a great rest of your day. Thanks. Thanks, Lauren. Bye.